We put one lens on and never took it off.
I know.
I
The
was
other
like-
the case just sat there with 6 other lenses.
Yeah,
Just like,
that's okay.
sorry.
So green screen comes into play a lot of times with what I'm calling specialized talent.
Seeing a 35 on it is just, it's buttery. It's just like, wow.
This massive space that, like, with these mascots, you're having them run around in the background and all over the place.
And they told me I could keep this. I tried to give it back. It was all sweaty, and they go, "You earned that, buddy."
It's all good.
So.
Founded in 1999 by Jason Burks, Retrospec Films is Oklahoma's largest turnkey production company of its kind. With a full-time team of over 20 talented individuals, a 12,000 square foot studio to create in, and a resume that spans some of the world's largest brands, if you love learning about filmmaking and storytelling, you've come to the right place. On each episode, we discuss the pursuit of creating things and the problems we solve by digging up projects from the last 20 years. Giving you a glimpse behind the scenes where the magic happens. You're listening to Retrospec Films from the archives.
Hello and welcome to Retrospect from the Archives. Thanks for joining us today. This is our in-house podcast where we talk about creative projects that we have done in the past and the problems we solve to get those things completed. Joining with me is Jacob Hightower, film production director,
Just
things.
Jacob, yeah.
HT.
Yeah,
Just
HT,
Jacob,
yeah.
HT.
Truck driver.
And then,
I like truck driver.
Brandon Forbes, production director, producer, client manager, renter of stanchions,
You got to make a call after this.
executor of random last-minute insurance.
All the things.
All the things. This is just like an advanced PA. You get paid a lot more, but you do PA things.
It's the best.
Today, we are going to talk about a project that's kind of, I think it's still in post-production, so we won't really get too into the details of it, but it is for one of our favorite clients that we've done work for even as much as 15 years ago, Raising Cane's, which is headquartered in Dallas, but originally based out of Baton Rouge. So they got locations in both of those, and then they've got like 1,000 restaurants all over the U.S. Really, really good chicken. You probably know of it. If you don't, you're really missing out because that cane sauce, come on.
That cane sauce.
That cane sauce, man.
You can buy it like in a cup.
Vat.
Yeah.
Like
Vat.
Just and then just
Yeah.
drink it if you want.
You can get a pressurized tap, put it at home, and just
That's what we should do.
Yeah, I
We
know.
get that installed in the kitchen.
that retro.
I'll work on that.
Yeah, work on that. So we did a project filmed recently, and what we're going to talk about is just the execution of logistics that are difficult, but also just all of the little difficult factors in high-end production, working in a different city, etc. Retrospec, we're based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Our studio's in Broken Arrow. There's 20 of us full-time here. We have all of our own stuff, and all of those things do allow us to do projects more efficiently and usually more cost-effectively than other people. However, we travel all the time. So we're always jumping on airplanes, driving to cities within 10 hours of here and filming. So this project that was before us was a project in which it was all going to be comped. So green screen, green screen, green screen. And usually when you're dealing with, I would say, specialized talent, mascots, celebrity athletes, etc., it's pretty common that the green screen comes into play because you can execute something with them a little bit faster than, say, moving them around location to location. Also, many times you don't know in these type of projects what will go around them. Say it's graphics, say it's a stadium, say it's a house, So green screen comes into play a lot of times with what I'm calling specialized talent. So anyways, this project was of that nature. We knew that we would be shooting all week. We knew that we would be shooting in Dallas. That was the easiest place. We're going to have talent flying in from all over the United States. They're going to fly in. They're going to land. They're going to drive to the studio. They're going to get out of the car. They're going to shoot as fast as I can direct and shoot the things that are necessary. They're going to roll right into a photo shoot that we're also executing as fast as possible. Then they're going to leave, get in a car, go back to the airport. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, Brandon, talk to me just a little bit about shooting in a studio in another town, and what was your process in the producing and the planning of that aspect of this shoot?
Yeah. So, when we're going and traveling to another city and state that we haven't, rented a studio. I mean, we've rented studios in Dallas before, but they change constantly. Different owners, different production companies. And so we tried calling one that we had worked with a couple years ago, and they turned it into an XR stage. And we're like, okay, well, we don't need XR. We just need simple green screen that's big enough for us to do photo and video. After calling a couple places, found one. They were great to work with. They let us come in, pre-light the day before, which was super helpful because we originally thought we were going to need 2 spaces. But when we got in there and kind of was able to, you kind of put up a lighting schematic to be like, okay, I think this is how we would do this. We figured we would have enough space to essentially just put up enough, black solids to no, here's photo, and you're not going to see the strobes cross into video, which was great because we needed a space that was able to expedite as quickly as possible because we had these athletes for maybe 30, 45 minutes. I think our schedule based on everything was 20 minutes for video, 20 minutes for photo. And then as we kind of got into it, it more was 30 minutes for video, 10 minutes for photo as we kind of got into a groove. But I mean, it was... The hardest thing was just trying to find a space that worked and was big enough. And, I think the studio that we were in was awesome. It was located just right between both airports. So you had, different people flying into Love Field or DFW. Everybody was able to get there quickly, whether they were Ubering or some of them kind of had somebody that was with them to help take them there and drive so they didn't have to worry about trying to, find a studio in downtown Dallas. But no, it was great, and we got to eat a lot of canes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think speaking of those nuances, the little details, it is funny because I remember when we got there for the pre-light and we thought, where do we do the photos? Where do we do the video? And it's odd how a little decision let's do them side by side. It seems so small, but we considered out in the lobby, we considered the other studio, and then it was this talent. We don't have time for them to come walk into here and do all this stuff and then move them to a completely different space. So even when we were blacking out and trying to create the second studio in the studio, it got really detailed because we were cutting out black and duvetine and perfecting it across the top and everything. But I do really think it paid off because it was so nice being able to shoot the talent and direct them and get all the stuff that we needed on video and then just roll them right into photography 10 seconds later, walk over there and do the photography.
Yeah.
And that worked out really, really nice. So I thought that was a good flow.
For sure.
Jacob, why don't we talk just a little bit about camera selection and resolution. I know this project, obviously, you showed up one day after the rest of us because you were directing another project. But, these cameras are cameras that we've been using all year and really, really been enjoying.
Yeah. Yeah, the C500s, shooting on green screen, we're going to want the highest resolution that we can shoot because they're going to be comping out the green screen, zooming in, zooming out. They want all the options that they can have. So I think we were shooting 5K. 6K.
Yeah.
6K resolution on full frame lenses. It was just, that's what you got to bring out for those green screen shoots. And I can't remember, we were shooting on a Sony A7R.
5, I think.
5 for photography.
For photography. Had strobes, all that stuff. And then, again, we were moving along a space in the green screen, which was a 10-foot space, so we had to pull focus as well.
Yeah.
And I remembered you were doing it and directing at the same time, which if anybody's ever done that, they know that's just challenging.
Not a gig.
It's not really. You're doing a little here, a little there, but so I was able to step in and start focusing on all the different scenes, which I love pulling focus. It's one of my favorite things to do. And just being a part of that team, it was awesome to show up and see what you guys created. And I was like, well, I just kind of tagged in and started the process, and it was a really fun shoot.
Yeah.
I remember we did a lot of different scenes, a lot of different mascots, a lot of different athletes. So it was just one of those things. It was a whirlwind. And yeah, I mean, I love shoots like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember, Brandon. Was it the Sigma Cine Pros that we used?
Yeah, we rented the
Primes?
Sigma Cine Primes. Well, I think because our other lenses were on that other shoot. And
Yeah.
we were
That's right.
and we had used them before.
Yeah.
And so we were we need like solid full frame glass that
Right.
is fast and wide for like
Yeah.
how, like, you know, because like you said, we were this massive space that, like, you know, with these mascots, you're having them run around in the background
Yep.
and all over the place, and so we needed like the full frame glass that looked good, that was sharp, and that, you know, was you could open up wide enough to capture kind of the depth that you'd need, so it didn't look like we were shooting on broadcast cameras.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was funny because I think I only ended up using one.
I think you were on the 24 like the whole time.
The whole, I think was it 24?
Or 20, was
I
it
think
a 20?
25.
Something.
I don't know, but yeah, we put one lens on and never took it off.
I know.
I
The
was
other
like-
the case just sat there with 6 other lenses,
Yeah.
just like,
That's okay.
sorry.
I mean,
Yeah. I think, you know, technically speaking, you know, some of the things, just expanding on that camera that I've really liked. I remember when we were considering buying the C500, like the main video that I was watching was the C500 versus the Alexa. And it was interesting, like all the nuances. I mean, obviously I'll tick a lot of people off if I say it's better than the Alexa, but I mean,
sure.
it was funny in the head to head how 50% of the things the Canon was better. And then there was 50% of the things that were kind of like tied / maybe the Alexa was better. But I thought that was really surprising because some of the huge functions, being able to autofocus, I mean, that's just, you kind of give that up like decades ago when you go into cinema. Like for me, like autofocus has never been a thing. But yet the complexity of really dynamic shots and trying to keep them in focus is a legitimate difficulty in our business. And lately it's been pretty awesome being able to use autofocus all of a sudden. And it's like, oh, this is way easier.
You got a crew of 2 people and you're running 2 cameras. You're like, I don't have somebody to pull focus for me. I just need the camera to help.
Yeah, and
I feel like on a C500, it's one operator and you're fine. You can it's a workhorse.
Yeah.
But when you start bringing things out like Reds and Alexas, I mean, you need a team
Right.
to really function
Yep.
and to make it right. So it's like the C5 and you can have a team with the C500 as well, you know.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's a workhorse and it's great for what we do.
It's interesting, which, you know, obviously to each person their own. I guess we've always worked in a fashion where we have a lot going on and we need things to work. And it's like, I feel like when shooting with an Alexa or shooting with a Red, you have to really pay attention because both of those cameras have a lot of things about them that want to screw up the shoot. And it's like, and that's fine. I mean, I guess really 10 years ago, the image quality of those cameras stood out far beyond everything else. So it was like, yeah, you're going to make the effort. Like, you're going to do it. Like the fact that I remember when I first started shooting on Alexa, like the week the thing came out, I was doing jobs with the Alexa and it didn't record sound. And it was like, that's okay. It doesn't need to. And it had a 4K sensor, but it only recorded in 2K. And it was like, but that's okay. And then eventually it recorded in 3K. And I remember for years I was shooting on Reds that recorded 5K. And they're like, the Alexa still only recorded 3K. And I was like, what is going on? Well, you have to buy all this extra stuff. And, you know, and it just like, it's kind of funny to me how through time, I'm like, I think maybe, I know Alexa's audience is really big shoots. And I don't know the future of Red with them being purchased by Nikon. But I'm really glad. I've always loved Canon's color. I just always have, and I've loved their functionality and their predictability. And I think for the kind of clients that we do work for, they don't need excuses. They need stuff that works and looks great. And that C500, you know, again, doing an all green screen shooting in 6K, it's just razor sharp. I mean, I remember when we were testing it, I think that we tested it on that casino shoot, right?
Yeah, at Kiowa.
Yeah, and it was like, oh my gosh, I got in the edit suite and I had Ben do some grades and we were looking at it on the big screen and I was like, this looks better than any Red camera we have ever owned.
Yeah.
No questions asked, which got me really excited too since we bought 2 of them.
Yeah.
And, you know, having 2.
You can't just have one because
Well-
you're going to be like, I need a B camera.
And the full frame. I mean,
It's
seeing a
such a
35
difference.
on it is just it's buttery. It's just like
Yeah.
wow, and it looks so much different than
It
when we
does.
put it
It's-
on our other cameras.
It's like it's like I knew that, but like somehow I lost track of it in the last 5 years. Like
Yeah.
I was like, Super 35 is fine.
Yeah.
And when it started getting into crop sensor, I was like, come on, guys. But then it's like weird. We went back to full frame, and all of a sudden you're shooting with a 25 mil that has a really shallow depth of field, and you're like selectively focusing the person that's 25 feet away and separating them with a nice bokeh from the background on a 25 mil. You can't do that with Super 35.
Yeah.
So I think part of the reason why I was glad you showed up and started running that focus motor, because yeah, it was funny. Like I mean, this shoot was unique in that there was a lot of dancing, there was a lot of energy and hype. Which, if the director doesn't have the energy and hype, neither does the talent.
Oh, you had the energy and
Yeah.
the hype. I
Yeah.
remember.
I mean, the
for your-
Mascots were doing it too, but I was like, they were,
I
sweating.
remember
And
one of your like you put on a mascot.
I put on a horse
You
head.
put on a horse
for
head
fun.
and was like, this is how we do it.
I did the
and was
Running Man
dancing.
with a horse head on.
I thought it was impressive.
Yeah, I try to make sure that I don't ask people. I've always believed don't ask people to do things you won't do yourself, which has forced me to try to learn how to do things that I'm not good at. But at least people can see me taking a swing.
You
at
would
it.
dance with that big chicken tub, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
all
you were
day,
out
man.
there with them.
All
I was
day,
out
man.
there with them.
Yeah.
I earned a hat on that
all
hill.
day.
You did,
Yeah,
yeah.
you
Some of us got to, eat canes on camera and jump around, and
Yeah.
it was fun.
I might be on some website somewhere.
You're wearing your fishing hat. This says Canes on it, and there she be. Just keep an eye out there. You might see
You
High
might
Tower.
see Hightower. We
dancing
did already
around.
see some of the photos
At the Canes
at
around
the
the
canes
corner.
around the corner.
Yeah, TU.
Yep.
TU was there, man. We
We-
shot the Hurricane.
I know. I was like, hey, look at that.
Yeah.
We did that.
Yeah.
And they told me I could keep this. I tried to give it back. It was all sweaty. And
They
they
were
"You
like,
earned that, buddy.
You
It's
can
all
keep
good.
that.
So
Well, I think, we've talked a lot about technical things and some about logistics and studio. I think the moral of the story is there's so many important little details that have a huge impact on doing production right. And you can choose the wrong studio and it can ruin the shoot silently. And people won't know and things won't go right and they won't really know where to blame, but it will be because the wrong studio was selected. Same goes with lighting, so many things with logistics, so many things with workflow, so many things with the type of camera you use. I think many times when we're hired, the people that hire us just trust us. And that's great, but we have the ability to ruin every project. And every project has nuances that we have to make the right decision to create the stuff. And so much of it will have to do with how are we shooting? What are we shooting? How much is it moving? How fast do we have to move? Is it, autofocus? Is it manual focus? Is it green screen? Is it location? Is it daylight? Is it, all these different things. And so I think this was a prime example of something tricky and complex, but we knocked it out of the park with shining stars, and we got to eat a lot of canes.
It's always a win.
It's always a win.
when you put the right teams on things, you can get a lot done.
Yeah,
True.
stuff goes well.
Yep.
So, well, thanks for joining us on this episode of Retrospect from the Archives. If you enjoyed it, you should check out some of our other episodes. We have over 40, I think getting very close to 50 episodes now. Best place to find them is retrospectfilms.com, in my opinion, because you can watch the video and see all the things. However, we're on Spotify and we're on Apple Podcast and probably other ones that I don't even know. So
Who knows?
that's why people on podcasts say, listen wherever you get your podcast. So
Oh,
I'll just say
I like that.
Just listen wherever you get your podcast at. We're there. So,
And
all right.
voice.
Well, we shall see you next time. Peace
All right.
from the East.
Bye.
See ya.